You're listening to Got Your Six Leadership Forged in Fire. I'm Dr. Traci, a retired U.S. Army officer turned business strategist. This is where I bring real talk, real leadership lessons, and battle tested tools that shaped me as a leader and continue to shape the leaders I coach today. Each episode gives you clarity, courage, and the confidence to lead with intention. Whether the battles you face are in business, at home, or within yourself, let's lock in, get honest, and lead like it matters. Every leadership decision begins before you speak. It begins with what you believe is true. And if your perception is flawed, your leadership eventually will be too. Have you ever walked away from a conversation completely convinced you were right, only to discover later that someone else experienced that same exact conversation in a completely different way? The facts didn't change and people didn't change. So what did? It was perception. Every day as a leader, we make hundreds of decisions. We assess situations, interrupt people's words, evaluate performance. We decide who to trust and who to not trust for that matter, right? Who needs coaching and who doesn't? Who needs accountability? Or even better, who needs to be engaged or who is struggling? But here's the question I really want to ask is what if we're not always seeing what we're thinking we're seeing? When we think inwardly versus outwardly, leadership doesn't always begin when you speak. It begins long before that. It begins with the story you're telling yourself about who you are in the situation you're in without even knowing. The story you're telling yourself is about you. One of the principles I teach all of the time is self awareness. Inner work is one of the greatest leadership skills that we can develop. We spend a lot of time talking about communication. I talk about communication all the time. I say communication is key, like it's going out of style. We talk about accountability and decision making, even emotional intelligence, but every one of those leadership skills is filtered through something we rarely stop to think about, and it's our perception. Because if my perception is flawed, my communication will be flawed. Even my decisions will be flawed. And even worse, my leadership will eventually be flawed. So today, I want to explore a question we don't often ask. Is it possible that before we become better leaders, we first have to become better observers of ourselves? Hey, y'all. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Got Your Six, where we have real conversations about real leadership, resilience, and what it truly means to lead yourself before you lead anyone else. I am your host, Dr. Traci, retired U.S. Army officer, business strategist, immersive keynote speaker, leadership coach, and creator of battle tested leadership methodology. If you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you've heard me say that leadership always begins with leading yourself first. Today's conversation isn't a departure from that belief. It's deeper. It is a deeper exploration of one's leadership most foundational principles. I am getting joined today by Pratiqk, author of Dhrasti, The Perception. I hope I said that right. Those are very unique words. His work explores how the lens through which we view ourselves and the world quietly shapes every single decision we make, often before we even realize it. While my work does focus on developing leaders through practical systems, accountability, execution, Pratik invites us to look inwardly first. It is a discussion I have so many times with so many leaders. This is why I'm so excited about this call. I think you're going to enjoy this conversation because I believe these two perspectives that I have and what Pratik is bringing to this conversation complements one another so beautifully. I am so excited to have Pratik on this call today. All right, here we go. Pratik, welcome to Got Your Six. I am so thankful you're here. Before we jump into today's topic, I'm so excited about all the discussion today. I'd love for everyone listening to get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, what inspired you to write Dhrasti, the perception, and I actually want to also know what Dhrasti means and maybe sneak in about the 3-day immersive experience. Let's talk about it, Pratik. What invites people to listen?
So first of all, thank you, Tracy, for me to be here on the show and share
Yeah.
my journey and my experience. I was born in India, studied, finished my school, and at the age of 18, I moved to UK. And I
Mm,
finished my accountancy degree, and I've been in the same journey like every other person in the earth, right? You finish your studies, you get a nice job, and you get some experience and get even better job, which is high paying. And I did exactly the same process. And after 10 years I decided to start my own practice, although I decided much earlier, but it took me good 8 years to really execute that plan to have my own business.
mm,
And the things which were bothering me, or the things which were holding me back, were the fears, and how I was really had fear of failure, fear of being judged, because I had a really decent job, high salary paying jobs, and I really wanted to leave that and have something own my own from scratch. Everyone I spoke to discouraged me from doing that, because for them, I was having amazing professional life, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and I wasn't really happy with it. When I started my own business, I was helping other business people to, like
mm.
startups or scale their businesses.
Yeah.
And I realized that they were also going through same struggles, the mindset which was focused more on the risk associated with what they are trying to do than the rewards.
Yeah.
And I was helping them, I was motivating them, I was inspiring them, I give them positive examples, and I was kind of using that to myself as well. And that came from the moment in 2017 I was diagnosed with tuberculosis. And
Mm,
I was in a bed for 3 months. I couldn't get up. And I asked myself a question like, if I were to pass away in this illness, what would really happen to the reasons and the people for whom I'm not able to do things the way I want? And the answer was nothing, because everyone's life goes on. And from that, somehow I don't know whether this was a destiny or I was searching for what I want to do. So I came across these positive mindset books like Think and Grow Rich, Magic of Thinking Big, The Power of Subconscious Mind. And I started to learn these things, and I realized that it's only because we've been focusing towards the negative outcome of what we want to do, we are always kind of fearful, and we can't do what we really want. We can't
mm,
achieve things from our full potential. But after reading this book, things started to shift. So I'll do a little bit fast forward. I've been through like Kriya Yoga, Inner Engineering of Sadhguru. I've done, Dr. Joe Dispenza's formula course. I did psychedelic experience in Peru, because my relationship was also not fulfilling to me, and there were a
mm.
lot of challenges and hurdles and pains I was going through.
Yeah.
And then 4 years ago, I came across rapid transformational therapy by Marisa Peer. And when I did one of the session, I learned I experienced how I learned what love is, how I
Mm,
learned, what the love experience is like. And because what I learned in childhood, how my present was kind of designed, and my present experience was based on how I learned about love, that we have to give a lot of care and attention and everything. You really serve in a relationship, and then you expect the love. And when that doesn't happen, it really gives you that pain. So this session really shifted me, deeply. And from that day, my experience of love changed completely. And it was so profound that I actually ended up qualifying myself as a rapid transformational therapist.
I love
And
that.
once I did that, I was helping people with their problems. And what I discovered, that there was something which was very common in everybody I've hypnotized, is whatever they were experiencing in their present life was a result of their childhood conditioning, how they learned the meaning to the events that was happening outside and how to react to that. It's something we all learned from our childhood, because when we were born we did nothing. So how I was helping is to help them identify and see for themselves how they learned that particular experience, and help them remove it and feel positive experiences. So it's kind of a reprogramming your belief system, your patterns. So it was working really fine. And one day I was meditating, and somehow I went to this question. This question, came to my mind, that if the negative experiences were learned experiences, we are retraining ourselves for positive experiences, but that is also learned experiences. So where is the real? Where is the original
Hmm.
form? And it took me to a state which I can't describe in words, but it's a feeling. That feeling was wholeness. That feeling was complete.
Mm.
And that
Yeah.
state was there when I was born, when I didn't understand any word in any language. This state was there. It was always fulfilled. And then when I kind of saw my life in a flashback, so I went to the moments when I was really happy, and I could see that this part is observing my experience of happiness. I then went
Yeah.
to the moments when I was really struggling and crying and I was in so much pain. This part wasn't really affected. Instead, it was literally just watching me experiencing the
Yeah.
pain. So
Yeah.
what I realized is every experience and every interpretation of the event we are making is something we picked up from our childhood. So, and somehow accumulation of these patterns and the belief systems, we learn to identify ourselves as a cumulative process. So as a child, we do certain things which our parents praise for, and we do certain things which we don't get praises for, or we get punished. We create a personality who does more of what gets attention, what gets validation, and what gets praises. And we try to avoid what doesn't give us those or doesn't serve us with what we desire. And this is how we create our personality, our identity. And everything about life, everything about what we should chase and what we should really have to feel the settled or fulfilled was there. It was learned, and everybody was doing that. Oh, it felt normal because everyone's running for. So
Yeah.
somehow this conditioning created this unfulfillment, the lack, which always wanted us to get something externally. So we went for money, we went for intelligence, we study hard and we learn more subjects. We do business, we chase love. And after achieving what we wanted, it didn't really give us the fulfillment we desired. So we change our target. So when we have $1 million, the next target is $10 million. And when we receive $10 million, it doesn't really give us that fulfillment we are really craving for. And what I experienced there is that this lack is a state and fulfillment is a state. It is
Yeah.
not quantifiable with the amount of wealth or amount of love which can fill in. So when I had this realization, my life became more of an experience than identifying myself and absorbed with those emotions.
Yeah.
And that was really, really transformative, because before I was doing things because I was expecting something, but
Yeah.
now I do things because I get a lot of joy and fun by just participating in that activity, because I was always whole. I operate from that wholeness. It's a state of bliss. So
Yeah.
everything I'm doing, it changed to joy, because there is nothing I can have more that can complete me, or whatever I'm calling mine. If I had to let go of all of it, I'm still complete. It's like that
Yeah.
ocean. So when I experienced this, I couldn't stop myself from sharing this with people, because I know there are so many people are either chasing for success, for love, and no matter how much they receive, they still feel
It's not.
empty. You
Yeah.
still
You're
feel.
still not going to be happy, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wrote a book about it, and I also created a 3-day immersive experience, because book is it's understanding, and it really takes you to deeper layers of it, but it is still understanding. And what we perceive through our five senses, it can be called as a philosophy or a concept or an idea, whereas 3-day immersive experience is something you actually see for yourself. It's like You hear about how chili tastes and you never tried it. And you can read books and everything, and you can only imagine how spicy that could be. But the moment you take a bite and you taste it for yourself, now you don't need anybody to validate how spicy it is. So the 3 day is really that experience where you feel your true self and change the way you were experiencing life.
Yeah, I love that, only because you explained it the way you did. I do always dive right into my thought-provoking questions, but you had me thinking about 1,000 different things now. So instead, I'm just gonna go off cuff. I'm sorry, my thought-provoking question is shifting because I would like to bring this into leadership for a minute because, that's what I
Mhm.
talk about. But
Sure.
you mentioned that many of our beliefs are formed long before we're aware of them. So let's kind of, for our listeners, bring this into leadership for a minute. Like, how might that, in a way, lead someone to be able to either lead a team better or worse because of the thoughts and memories they have that they're not even conscious of? Is that, is that relational?
It is because, see, let's use the word leadership. Now,
Yeah.
what leadership means, and it could mean different to everybody, because how did we learn the definition? And first we hear about something, and when we get into it, we start experiencing things. And the conditioning is something isn't created by one person, it's a cumulative process, because we don't learn from just one person. It's our parents, it's our neighbors, it's our school teachers, it's movies, radio, and
Mhm.
nowadays, social media, TikTok. And
Yeah.
every information we receive, our subconscious our subconscious nervous system is
Mhm.
receptive to certain content or certain information, and when it
Yeah.
resonates with it, it adapts it, and if it doesn't resonate, it leaves it. And that is why, the same event can be experienced very differently by two people. So,
So true.
once we understand, so the way I see leadership is, we can see the whole life like everyone is living, which is from the conditioned self. Now,
Yeah.
conditioned self is like a programmed self, and it's got all the rules of what is a good leadership, what is a bad leadership, what is that we are trying to achieve, which somewhere is seeking fulfillment through the different courses, right? Now, the way I perceive leadership is, I'm operating from wholeness, and I want to create experience. I'm creating something in a world, and I
Yeah.
don't have any expectations to feel fulfilled because I'm already fulfilled. So the process of becoming the leader, understanding the requirement by the project or by my team,
Yeah.
and solving that, gives me so much joy. So whether when you're leading something or when you are a leader, are you operating from lack, or are you operating from the fulfilled state? And that's
That's
where the
true.
lot of decisions we make would automatically change.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you that question because many of our behaviors are shaped in childhood. And so that's interesting because I've spent my career teaching leaders. I call people leaders. If you're a human leading people and things, I call you a leader. So I teach leaders self-awareness is one of the foundations of their leadership, right? So if someone recognizes that today they're reacting from an old belief or an experience, what's the first step towards leading themselves differently? What would you say if a person does recognize that, right? Because I do that sometimes. I'll recognize, oh no, I'm doing this because I was frustrated as a child. And now I'm like taking it out on my granddaughter, for example, because she gets to do things free willy. But how would a person shift that though? Is there a way that make a person shift that easily?
Yes and no. And I would say, so the very first important thing is to recognize that there is something wrong. And when we recognize, the second important thing is to be
Yeah,
honest about it to yourself and accept it.
that's true.
Because if
Yeah,
we cannot accept something is wrong, there is no solution, because there is no problem in the first place.
right.
But when you think this is really burning me out, or this is really stressing me, I don't know how to deal with it, then you would accept it, that yes, this is what I feel. And then you look for the answers. So, most of the stress or most of the pressure, where does it really come from? How did we learn that in this particular situation, we should be feeling pressure?
Mm,
So, what is the real pressure? Is it pressure that you won't be able to achieve the goals? And if it's the
mm,
goals, why that you must receive these goals? So, we are not saying here that you shouldn't chase the goals, but what your expectations are after chasing the goals. Because when we are operating
mm.
lack, we are chasing things because we want something in return. So we are emotionally
Oh, yeah.
attached with it. So if we don't receive that, or if we don't hit the deadline, we are going to feel disappointed. We're going to be disheartened. And if we are able to accept it, it's actually better, because sometimes when we cannot accept it, we blame others. So we blame the senior team, we blame the employees, or we, that's our mechanism to handle the failure.
Mhm, mhm.
And this is all part of conditioning. But instead, if I was a leader and operating from wholeness, I would plan my targets, and I know that I'm going to do my best, and doing my best is giving me so much joy. So if it didn't
Yeah,
happen in a week, it'll happen in 2 weeks' time. The way we perceive those things is automatically changed, because your focus isn't in receiving something. Your focus and the joy comes from you participating in the activity.
that's absolutely true because we do often talk about, in life, the expectations as being a leader, whether it's the expectations we put on our teams or ourselves, right? But I'm wondering, how do we know the difference between pursuing excellence, because that's the way some people are, especially if you know what you want your future to be, not that we're perfect, but in ourselves, we try to find excellence, or chasing an expectation that actually is being driven by maybe fear or an old belief. There's a big difference between the 2, wouldn't you say?
There is. I mean, first thing I would say, when we say we want to reach excellence, how do we define excellence? Where
Right,
did it actually come from?
right.
And what are the parameters? Because excellence mean different to everybody. Some
That's
people
true.
would look at, what they are capable of delivering. That is their excellence. Some people would measure, let's say it's the similar word to that is success, right? Like everyone
Mhm.
wants to be successful.
Yeah,
And we define it differently. Like
yeah.
somebody who was born in a middle class family earning maybe $10,000 a month, for them, $50,000 a month is success for them,
Yeah,
right? So it changes. So I think instead of defining success, if we just learn for ourselves or ask ourselves those deeper questions, am I really chasing? And the real answer, through my experience and the people I've really done these sessions, is fulfillment. And just because everybody around us has measured success with wealth, with the financial thing, or the fame, or the respect they get, or the status in a society, we also try to compete with the same statuses or same parameters of measuring our success.
yeah,
And if we
absolutely.
didn't get it, we have fear of the judgment, we have fear of failure. So all that is our learned experience. And somehow we learn to identify ourselves with that personality, that conditioned self.
Yeah.
And that was also normal. There's nothing to blame, because everybody around us was giving us,
Mhm.
that's what we learned, because everyone's
Right.
chasing that. And
Yeah.
that's where the politics starts, because the people who there are that's are there are always multiple personalities to express the same emotion. So if I wanted success, I might just work so hard and achieve something. Other people, like, I don't want to do work hard, but I'm probably gonna create problems in other lives, right? So other
Yeah.
journey. And that's how they feel that pleasure, because they lack, but it's only going to be temporary. There is never a
Mhm.
solution to have the fulfillment in conditioned world, because the very foundational
Yeah.
mechanism of conditioning is lack.
Yeah. I actually love that you use the word. I'm going to interrupt for a minute. I love that you use the word fulfillment because I see a lot of leaders who are incredibly successful, yet they're exhausted, disconnected, and wondering why the success doesn't feel the way they thought it would. Why do you think that happens? Can you explain that maybe a little bit?
Of
Where that
course.
missing piece might be? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the answer is really simple, and the more you think about it, the more you realize that this is true. As I said earlier, we are actually chasing fulfillment, and because we don't know what that feels like, we've forgotten about it, we copy what others are doing, right?
Mhm.
So, as I said, somebody would look for financial success, somebody would look for the fame or the respect, or they want to be number one in their field. And when they reach number one, And
Mm.
we are really passionate about it because we strongly believe that when I get there, I'm gonna feel fulfilled. So we really
Yeah.
work really hard. We do everything it takes to get there. So when we get there, after a really short amount of time, we didn't feel what we really wanted to feel.
Mhm.
And because of that, now we think, okay, maybe the target has to be something different. So we create another target for us, and we again run for it, and then
Yeah.
we get there. It's a cycle because the universe is infinite, so the possibilities of you achieving is infinite. What
Yeah.
is limited is our lifetime, right? So because it's a state, and because there is no programming in us that says, okay, if you had $1 trillion, you're gonna feel fulfillment. I guarantee, even with that, you won't feel fulfilled because there is
Right.
still more to get. So when we were born, we knew nothing about life. We knew nothing about parents. We didn't know anything what we know today. Just think about, you lost your memory. So you
Mm.
don't know what is what. You don't know
Yeah.
what emotions are. You don't know anything. What state do you feel? It's exactly the same state as when we were born and knew nothing about anything. And then, we saw our parents coming, mostly, let's say dad was working and dad comes home and he's stressed out. He shows how the stress feels to him. And he says, oh, there was a lot of work. I'm a lot of under pressure. I don't want to talk to anybody. Just let me be,
Mm.
or let me have some drink, and I want to relax. So we are actually learning as a child that work is really stressful. So whenever we go to work in future, we're gonna feel that stress because we already programmed ourselves. And how we react in that stress, we also learned from our dad. Now, this isn't limited to my dad or our dad, right? Because we go to our friend's house, the friend's father is also reacting in the same way. We go to someone else's house, and teachers are complaining. And even if you see movies or any series, everybody when they come home end of the day, they feel tired, they're exhausted, they are burnout. So we learn that this is what we feel when we go to work. And the other thing is that our subconscious system creates our actions. And the subconscious system is the collection of emotional imprints. So our fears are the feeling of fear is stored in our nervous system, our subconscious mind. And the experiences, the events that happens is we perceive by our conscious mind. It's our five senses, right?
Yeah.
So when we are really successful and we are running this huge operation, why that operation is not giving us joy but giving us more stress and more pressure is because we thought this is going to give us fulfillment. But because
Right.
it's not giving us the fulfillment we want, internally we're not really enjoying this process anymore because it became mechanical exercise. You keep doing the same thing over and over again, but it's not giving you that fulfillment. So only if we sit down and realize that, how did I define my success? Was it really mine, or this is something I heard somewhere, or I read somewhere, or I perceived somehow that this is the best way to be successful? And you will get the answer that it was learned. So if something was learned, it cannot be true.
Mm.
That cannot be
Mhm.
yours, right? So in with this drastic experience or from our true self, the body needs food to survive and it needs sleep to survive. So, and
Mhm.
these are the two necessities. Anything else which we are chasing, instead of calling it my dreams and desires, I would call it experience. So the way I see is, everything we do in life is experience, and the conditioning was there for us to experience it. Because this state, the true state, which was when we were born, didn't have any language, doesn't have any emotions attached to it. It's got nothing. It's a state of bliss. It's got nothing. But in order to understand what it is, the conditioning was really, really important, mandatory factor for us to interpret our true state.
Mhm.
And this is why, after going through this conditioning process, when we are tired of this unfulfilled inner state, we start the journey to what is the truth. Because we've earned enough money, and I still feel it's not enough. I mean, I came to UK in 2003, and I was working in a small restaurant, and I was earning really some small amount a day, and my inner state was something, let's say state A about money. And after 20 years, when my hourly rate was much higher than my monthly wage in 20 years ago, my inner state was still the same
Mhm.
because it was a feeling.
Yeah.
And the moment I had this realization, the numbers stopped mattering to me. It didn't mean I stopped doing the work I was doing, but I'm no longer dependent on the outcome of what I'm doing. I think when you are no longer dependent on the outcome of what you are engaging yourself with, the life experiences changes. But there are two ways. Most people force this change, which doesn't last long because you are trying to force something from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. It's a really long winded process. It's like you water the plant through the leaves. It's not
Mhm.
gonna, you gotta put it in a root. And that's where this true realization, when you experience it, it changes like that. And then over time, you're just going to keep integrating your different experiences. So you will realize that from when you were seeing the life from the conditioned self, this is what you were feeling and you were calling it is your own emotions. But now that you are seeing the exact same thing from your true self, it changes. It's like you have, red color sunglasses and you see everything is red. And that's what you've been seeing from your childhood because somebody put them on when you were born. And now suddenly, somehow you managed to remove your glasses and you saw, oh, it's not red anymore.
Yeah.
And then every place you visited, you carry your red glasses. So you first see how you saw it in the beginning. Now you're seeing it without the glasses and you can feel the difference. And the more you do it, the more clarity you start to get. And it changes your experience.
Well, a lot of people, a lot of the leaders even that have dealt with throughout my life is that, they're running on 2 journeys at the same time, whether it's a stay-at-home parent and they're parenting and then living their life, or they're a business person and their external journey is building the business, leading a team, or growing the organization. But then at the same time, there's that internal journey of becoming the kind of person who people need, right? One way or the other, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, parent, father, whatever it is, or business owner. But how do you see those journeys intersecting? Because they have to, right? They have to intersect at some point in order to really feel fulfilled, I would think anyway. Actually, from my own experience, I feel they have to.
Absolutely. And to be honest, up to a certain extent, I used to experience that.
Yeah.
And we always say that yes, we are achieving all the success in order
Yeah.
to then spend quality time with the family and
Right.
feel that success, right? But that sounds so amazing, but we don't really feel that.
Yeah.
That's because as we were discussing earlier, that the lack is trying to find different ways to feel the fulfillment.
Yes.
So,
Exactly.
I mean, according to our age, it changes. So when we are in
Hmm.
our school, we know the study and our results is going to give us that fulfillment. So we work hard and get the marks. And also our parents been teaching us that once you qualify and if you have a good degree, you're going to have a better job. So we already
Hmm.
put our fulfillment to that time. And we are happy with it because we know that there is a process. And when we get there, we're going to feel the fulfillment. Then when we are young in our 20s and obviously it's a age of puberty and we feel this attraction and this love, and because we grew up seeing how to express love, how it feels
Hmm.
to be in love, how it feels to receive love, we are already programmed for those experiences. And we also develop that lag that other person is going to complete me.
Hmm.
So when you are with that, so until you are settled, I married with the person, or in a some sort of until you get the commitment, you will be strongly feeling that after when I'm with that person, I'm gonna feel the fulfillment. But the moment you get commitment, within a very short amount of time, you don't feel that fulfillment,
Mm. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
When it's same thing happens with our career. Like when we
Yeah.
are learning the new work, it's always exciting because we are
Yeah.
learning, and it's an automatic process. But once you've learned something and you've got money and you want to you enjoy your life, and you also how you can enjoy your life, it's also conditioning there, right? Going on expensive holidays, or
Yeah.
purchase big expensive brands
Yeah.
clothes, accessories, and go to most expensive restaurants. This is
Yeah.
how you can prove to others that you are successful. right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all these, it's all linked between each other, right? So when we are progressing in our career, again, we're waiting for the promotion. You work hard for the whole year to get promoted, and you get the promotion, and in 3 months time you want another position, because we imagine, or we assume that this particular point is going to give us fulfillment, but it doesn't.
Right.
And we also start finding some sort of disappointments or differences in our partner when we start living together.
Mm,
And that's only because somehow we were convinced that we were not complete. And because we
mhm.
felt we were not complete, we put the responsibility in external world to
Yeah.
complete us.
Yeah.
And every time we have those expectations and we have disappointments, we go into
Yeah.
pain, we go into
Yeah.
trauma, and we
Yeah.
start experiencing negative emotions. But if
Yeah.
we just start operating from wholeness,
Yeah.
then I know that I'm whole and I don't need anybody to complete me or no money to complete me. It doesn't stop me from going in a relationship, but then the
Right.
time I spend with my partner is going to give me joy. I'm not going to bother about what she does for me or what she doesn't do for me, because
Mhm.
I'm already whole. That's a state which I'm already feeling without being her with me, right? So
Right.
if I'm going to work, I'm going to enjoy the task I'm doing. I'm going to enjoy the leadership and my to do, my everyday task. I'm having so much fun, because it's not the money or it's not the
Yeah.
acknowledgement, it's not the reward that is going to complete me, because I'm already whole. And if that
Right.
comes, I'm going to experience how that feels, but I'm not going to be emotionally attached with it. I'm not going to give it a power to
Yeah.
change my state. And that happens
Yeah.
automatically.
It does. I actually, in my battle tested leadership methodology in the programs that I do and teach people, one of the biggest things I teach is self leadership, right?
Yeah.
Because if we can lead ourselves, you have to lead yourself before you can lead other people, because the inner work, your inner journey of understanding exactly what you're saying and the work of learning to lead yourself is really the beginning basis of being able to be happy, right?
Yeah.
Because what you're saying, you're not looking at the outside. Even when you start leading other people, you're still not looking at the outside because they're doing their job. You're giving them the expectation, you're telling them what they need to do. The journey is really inner journey to really be able to describe self leadership, right?
Absolutely.
When yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Completely
yeah.
agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Many people spend so many years of their lives trying to become better leaders, and they never look inwardly. That's one of the biggest reasons I was so excited to have you on, to be honest with you, because inner work is so important. Whether they believe that it's their childhood that caused them to be where they're at now or whatever it is, a lot of people don't look inwardly to understand why they're reacting. And I'm so glad you brought up the scenario just now about even if with a significant other or you're satisfied at work or not at work, it's not really the power of what somebody else has. It's you having that power over yourself, empowering yourself to be able to do the work and understanding inner work, understanding that inner leadership.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, when I started, I would like to share this extra,
Yeah.
part of my story that
Yeah.
might people will relate. And
Please
I
do.
am living from the true self. What I actually started to notice is I could consciously see my thoughts. So my thoughts were in my control. So if I do not want to think
Yeah.
anything, I can just bring my awareness to this state, and there is no thought in my mind.
Yeah.
Now I want to think about something, so I can consciously choose a subject, and I can even choose for how long and what I want to think about it. And this is where the conditioning really helps, because with our thoughts, we create certain vibrations, and they trigger the emotional response within our body, and
Okay.
those
Yeah.
emotions and then trigger the physical actions in our body.
Mm.
And what I realized and experienced is that we are living from one of these three states. So when we live through our body as a, from the body state or the physical state, our focus is more into material accumulation of material success. So we
Right.
would be running for money, we would be running for, food. We enjoy more food, we enjoy more travel and things like that. So our decisions come more on practical grounds.
Hmm.
And there is an emotional state. So people who are operating from emotional state, they would feel more emotions than the others. So their decision making is also from their heart. And that's what we say. I don't think through my brain, I think through my heart. And
Mhm.
that's also a layer where we can operate from. And there is a third layer, which is essentially the mind. So the people with higher intellect can actually, they have seen that the material success isn't something is important. The
Mm.
emotions, you become stronger and become master over your emotions so you can control them. But the intelligence, that
Yeah.
intelligence helps you create something bigger, and that's where I believe most of the leaders are operating from.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
unfortunately, all these three are still operating from lack. They're using different mechanism to
Yeah.
operate from. But when you step out of it, you can actually control it, and it really becomes like a game.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Before we wrap up, though, here's what I want to do since you brought that up. That is such a great topic and a segue for my final thought provoking question. If every leader listening today paused for just 60 seconds before walking into their next difficult conversation, what is one question they should ask themselves that could completely change how they lead? Can we leave our listeners with that?
Of course, of course. I think they should just ask, it may be not in one line, but why,
Okay.
how did I learn to define this situation as difficult
Okay.
situation? Because the likelihood of outcome in my favor is really low and I still have to address it. So is it
Yeah.
because I'm expecting some outcome according to my expectations, but I don't see much likelihood and hence I'm calling this as a difficult situation?
Yeah.
How about if I didn't have any expectations, but I just want to enjoy the process of the situation without labeling it?
I love that.
Try
Yeah.
to not label it and just
Yeah.
call it a situation and see how that goes.
I love that. I love that. Pratik, I loved having you on. I feel like I'm going to have to find another reason to have you on another time. I was so excited to have you on today, and I wish you success with your book. But, one thing I genuinely appreciate about this conversation is because I know it reinforces something I share with people all the time is that leadership is not just about being strategic, right? It's about communication. It's about thinking of your inner self. It's understanding ourselves first in order
Yeah,
to lead and lead outside. And the more aware we become on this lens, right? This lens that we're looking through, use the red glasses is all I could think about was the red glasses that we see other people even, right? And the challenges and opportunities, we become better equipped with leading with clarity, humility, and even intention. I really
absolutely.
appreciate you. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we have to say goodbye today? I promise I will find another reason to have you on.
I would love to come again because I think
Yeah.
what I've experienced is so profound. And
Yeah.
I
I
feel
love it.
it's my desire that every human on this earth, starts to
Yes.
live from that wholeness because everyone
Yes.
deserves it. And I
Yes.
think this is the beginning of the different way of, new direction of evolution
Yeah.
because we are physically evolved. There is nothing needs to be changed. But
Yes.
this is more inner evolution, so
Yeah.
rather than living life from lack, how it becomes living from the wholeness and how it changes
Yes.
the life experiences. I
Yes.
think I would say one thing to all the listeners is talk to yourself and
Yeah.
be honest about those conversations to yourself. You don't need to share it with anybody, but just do
Right.
some talk every day.
I love that. Actually, and I love that you left them with that because I tell people all the time. It's a friend of mine wrote a book, a very good friend, my best friend, actually. She wrote a book called Mirror Work. And I tell people all the time, how often do you counsel yourself? How often do you go in the bathroom, look in the mirror, and just have a conversation with you? Just with
Yes.
you. Nobody else needs to know you're crazy, you're talking to yourself, whatever. Have a conversation with yourself. Ask yourself, how am I feeling? How am I doing right now? And do that inner work to own what that feels like. And so
Yes.
I really appreciate you leaving that with our listeners. I will find a reason to have you back on, Pratik, even if I have to get you to write another book. I don't know what it is. Let's dive deep on inner work because I think it is so, so important. So for my listeners, please, if this made a lot of sense to you, please share this with somebody because Pratik is bringing something into this world that we all need to hear about. So thank you so much, Pratik, for being here today. And I look forward to finding another reason to having you on again. Thank you, everybody, for spending your time with me today and listening to this conversation. If it resonated with you and challenged you in a way to think about leadership, inner leadership, self care, I encourage you to continue investing in yourself. You can download my free battle tested leadership guide. The link is in the show notes. It's a practical resource designed to help you begin leading yourself before you lead anyone else, or even in concert if you already have people around you that you're trying to lead and you feel stuck. If you're looking for deeper conversations, ongoing leadership development, and a community of people committed to becoming stronger leaders, I'd love to welcome you to one of my membership groups. Whether you're a business owner, senior leader, manager, or simply someone committed to growing personally, there's a space for you in my groups. You'll find the collaborative call in the links again. You'll also see Patrick's links in my show notes. I always have availability for people that are in my groups to communicate. Please reach out to me, subscribe, leave a review, like, do all the things. My people tell me I don't say this enough. Please subscribe, share to all the people. Share this episode with someone who could benefit from the conversation. Every share helps us reach another leader interested in looking to grow. Please know that this is so important to the people out there to hear this. Until next time, lead with courage, lead with clarity, and always, leadership is not perfection. It's about progress and it's about showing up for other people, but more so, showing up for yourself. It's about doing the work, it's about having the courage to lead when it matters. And remember, I've got your six. Leadership isn't found in comfort, it's forged in fire. Life will test you. When you create stability through your choices, you don't just calm the chaos, you build momentum. Stay steady, stay strong, be decisive, and most of all, lead with intention. And remember, I've got your six.